The Little Things. That's right. The Little Things, right? Now, let me say before we get started on The Little Things came in at number one, 4.8 million at the box office. 4.8 million at the box office came in number one. So that box office today means at the box office, at the theater, and at home. 4.8 million. Let's go through the cast first.
Okay. Starring Denzel Washington
As
Deke. Rami Malek plays Detective Baxter.
Mm-hmm.
Jared Leto plays Albert Sparma.
Mm-hmm.
Also supporting cast: Sophia Vasilieva, Natalie Morales, Bradley James, Jason James Rector, Tom Hughes, John Harlan Kim, huge cast, and Ebony and Maya. And there's another actress I'm trying to, and you all know her.
The coroner.
Yeah, but I'm looking for her name, and I hate how sometimes some of these sites they don't
have
give
the secondary characters.
Everyone's name, right? And
so the synopsis of the film. There is a serial killer on the loose,
right?
And it would just so happen that while a serial killer is on the loose who has killed 9 women, and they haven't had any real suspects come forward, and the feds are on the verge of coming in to take over the case.
No, excuse me, Michael Hyatt.
Okay. They're on the verge of coming in to take over the case. Denzel Washington, who used to work in Los Angeles as the head investigating detective, happens to be coming back because there is a case that his sergeant wants him to pick up some evidence to bring back to convict this murderer, this killer, right? And so he happens to be in town when all of this is going down, and Rami Malek's character says, "Hey, would you like to ride along because we've heard your name precedes you?"
Right.
So basically, he's drawn into something, and the similarities are so that he says that this may be a chance for him to close a case that's 15 years old. Right? So that's the basic storyline, right? And so it's one former head investigative detective, the actual one current in LA within this picture, join forces to bring the criminal to justice. Now I'm going to tell you, this film, The Little Things, you see the trailer, wipe what you think the trailer is making you think this is. Wipe that totally out your mind, because this is like no other detective thrillers, whodunit, serial killer genre film that you have ever seen. It is nothing like what you have seen. So wipe that out your mind automatically, because it is nothing like what you have seen before, and you will be totally misled watching The Little Things. It is not what you think. There are twists and turns in this that will have you scratching your head at the end of the film.
And that's what I love about this film.
And you'll be sitting there and you know, you'll be sitting there like, yo, like, did they really prove that
And I'm like,
did?
yes. And I presented you with all of the evidence.
Okay, let's go through the evidence. Let's go
Okay.
through the evidence. Like, you know, like I'm looking. I'm like, okay. They bring him in and they talk to him, and there's nothing, right? It's just all surface level. Did they really prove that he did it, or was it circumstantial evidence?
Yes.
Okay, run down the.
Okay, so look, before I give the evidence, right, I want to also add that Chris Bayer is in the cast. Chris Bauer, right? Mm-hmm. And we know him from True Blood. So when we saw him on the screen, we were like, we know him from True Blood. Mm-hmm. And then lastly, in the cast also is Judith Scott. Mm-hmm. She did a great job as Denzel's ex-wife, Marsha. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the film, see, I don't want to give it away. But what you have to do when you watch this film is you have to be 100% engaged. You better have your little pad out. And I'll see. Growing up, I used to play the game Clue. I love that game. Because each time you had to figure out who did what tool they used, what room. I mean, it's just like a guess who did it. And that's what I love about this film. So it's like they feed you like little pieces of evidence throughout the film, right? So I'm like making mental notes. And by the time the movie was over with, I'm like, I am 100% sure, and I'm like 100%. I've got all the evidence aligned, and I was just like happy at the end of the film, and I was able to.
The conclusion of the film will leave you perplexed.
Yes, you were perplexed. I'm like, no.
And you will be
no.
Decide. Did they really prove that this guy did it? There's certain things that happen. It's like,
yeah, but I mean, from the beginning, you know, like we talked about it, but I don't want to give it away because for me to give away the evidence is, you know, you have to see the film. But from the beginning to the middle to the end, they feed you pieces of information. So you go. What I love about this film is you're along for the ride, right?
Right.
So you're along for the ride, and you, just like the investigators, are actually like trying to help them figure it out. So even though Jared Leto is a suspect, is he really?
Did he really
commit the crime?
Did they get the right guy, and what did they do to compromise themselves to get the right guy? Right? Now, this film is a perfect example of Butch the dog, Thomas the cat, and Jerry the mouse.
Tom and Jerry.
That's right.
The cartoon.
So you could think of Denzel as Butch the dog, right? You can think of Jared Leto's character as Thomas Cat, and you could think of Rami Malek's character as Jerry Mouse. Now, if you know how the Tom and Jerry situations play out, then you'll understand what I'm saying. It's like you see Butch the dog kind of go at Thomas the cat, but then it's Jerry Mouse that kind of comes in, and so when you watch it, you're gonna see that dynamic. It's a Tom and Jerry thriller, suspense whodunit killer thriller with Butch the dog, right? It's Butch the dog, Thomas the cat, and Jerry Mouse, right? That's the dynamic that's playing out in this film. So let's break this down. Let's break it down. Let's see. Edgar Weekly, I see that he's watching, right? Say what's up to Edgar Weekly. Let's see what else. Let's break this down. Okay. Cinematography on the film.
Okay.
The use of various angles to tell the story. The wide shot, medium shot, close up, big head. Beautifully done.
Okay.
the movement of the camera, the use of the camera to pan down, just like you saw in that scene, to catch what's in the newspaper headline. Beautiful cinematography work. That is a 10 in the little things, right? The use of lighting, natural and artificial, such as flashlights. You can see it in these scenes within there. The use of the lighting that's coming through windows to light up scenes, probably with reflectors on the opposite end that light up the actors. Beautifully done. The color scheme through lighting. That's a 10.
Yeah.
Character development. Introducing you to each one of the characters.
Okay.
Each one of the characters, along with each one of the characters' flaws. Their flaws added in to tell the story.
Yeah.
That is a 10.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Character arcing.
Right.
By the time that you get to the latter 1/6 of the film, because the film is divided into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, right?
Okay.
But by you get to the later 1/6, you're like, what the heck is this detective doing? That's what makes it Butch the dog.
Right. Which is great.
Thomas
so
Cat,
engaging. It's engaging.
Jerry
Right.
Mouse.
It's engaging.
Tom and Jerry type thing.
Did
Business.
Edgar see the film? Or maybe he can chime in on it, because this film is like a great, like I said, it reminds me of the game Clue, and I enjoy playing the game Clue, right? So even as an adult, I told you like a few months ago, or last year actually, when COVID started, I was like, I need to buy Clue again. Maybe we can play this during COVID since we can't go anywhere. But because it's a great, okay, so is this really the suspect? And so let's present all of the evidence. And I love how this film takes you on a ride.
And it keeps you perplexed thinking about it.
Right. Thought-provoking film.
Is the ending justified?
It's justified. You know why? Because they lay out all of the evidence for you throughout the film.
And lastly, using LA as a character.
Yes.
Using the mountains.
Yeah.
Using the drone shots to pull out from the Y and pull up to show you the full valley.
Right.
Using LA as a living, breathing character in this film.
They did a great job. You know why? Because the LA as the backdrop, right? Like you said, as the character, gives you evidence as well. Like there are scenes when they show you different areas, you know, in LA, and you read the signs and you see where he went, and you're reading it and you're looking and you're like, okay. And then when they present all of the evidence, right, and they talk about the character of the killer at the time, they're trying to figure out, well, who is this killer, right? And then so you think about the patterns, and you look at all of the different places Jared Leto went to, and all of the different things that he eats, right? And they show you all of this in, you know, the city of LA in the backdrop. You're seeing all of this, right?
Does the end justify the means in which the end came about? And that's what you have to determine in the little things, right?
Yes.
So what would you rate?
Oh, you know what I would rate it? We talked a 10, because this is a film that we talked about, we talked about it all. We talked about it yesterday at premiere, right? So so we talked
2 days ago, Friday.
Friday. We watched Friday.
Because we've been film watching people
non-stop, right? And so ever since we seen the film, we've been talking about it, and I've been presenting you with all the evidence, because I am content, you know, with the outcome, because, you know, like I said, I had all of my evidence in a row. And so, does
the end of the film justify the means in which it came about? Did they get the right person.
This film, if you have not seen it, you have to see this film because it will take you on a ride. And that's why it is the #1 film, and that's why millions of people
That's right.
purchase HBO Max to see this film.
4.8 million, number one at the box office. And you know what box office means? It means at home and those who brave the theater in the United States. But so watch this film and take out your mind what you think the trailer is telling you what it is, because it's a total twist around from what you're thinking. By the time you get to the last 1/6 of the film, you're like, what the heck is going on here? And then
it's a thriller, definitely.
Yeah, it's gonna thrill you. How's the trunk space?
Right.
So you gave it a 10.
Definitely
okay,
a 10.
So I give it a 10 too.